This is lesson 3 in our unit on how to write formulas and name them. Today we're going to be learning about something called polyatomic ions. The basic two main goals as the previous units. I want you to be able to see a formula and give me a name. And then the reverse, if given a name, I want you to be able to write a formula. In this case, involving something called polyatomic ions. So these are ionic compounds that include this thing called a polyatomic ion, which is a group of covalently bound atoms behaving as a unit. They carry a charge. In fact, in all except for one case, they're going to have an extra electron or 2 or 3. So they'll all be negatively charged except for one. So I want you to especially focus on that one so you can recognize it. You can almost always recognize that polyatomic ions are present if you're given the formula, just because you'll see more than 2 elements. So if you look at the formula and you see 3 or 4 or more capital letters, each of those capital letters indicates a new element, then the very first thought that ought to pop into your mind at this point is that a polyatomic ion might be involved. Now that's not the only possibility. For example, if it starts with an H, a hydrogen, then the very first thing you ought to do is look on the hydrogen list, the acid list. We'll get to that a little bit later in another lesson, but I've given you a list of acids and you just have to look them up. If the formula starts with a C, carbon, it may be an organic compound, and organic compounds have an entirely different naming system that we are not going to get into in this class. Now, I've given you a list of polyatomic ions on the back of your help sheet and on the back of your periodic table. You do not have to memorize them. However, it would be very helpful if you did memorize at least 10 of them that I'm going to list here in just a moment. Just so that you'll speed up the process. This way, if you hear the name or you see the formula, you can write down immediately what the name is, just because you've seen it over and over again. But you don't have to. What you have to be able to do is recognize when to use the help sheet. Now, one in particular that I really do strongly emphasize that you ought to memorize is the ammonium ion. Ammonium is NH4 with a +1 charge. It's the only positive polyatomic ion. The reason why I think it'd be a really good idea for you to memorize ammonium is not because it's the only positive one, but because when you use a positive ion, you write it first in the formula. So if you see NH4Cl, for example, if you did not recognize that NH4 is the polyatomic ion, you might think that the H4Cl is the polyatomic ion, and you would spend forever trying to look that up. The NH4 ammonium is positive, and so it's written first in both the formula and in the name, ammonium chloride. On the other hand, if you see something like LiNO3, again, we see 3 capital letters. We think polyatomic ion might be present. And sure enough, the NO3 is the polyatomic ion called nitrate. So this compound will be called lithium nitrate. Here are the 10 that I think you ought to memorize just because you're going to see them over and over again. We already mentioned ammonium. In addition, there are a couple that end in IDE, hydroxide and cyanide. That would be a really good idea for you to memorize. They both have a -1 charge. Then there's nitrate and sulfate. Those are probably the 2 most common polyatomic ions that you'll run into other than hydroxide. NO3 with a -1 charge and SO4 with a -2 charge. Here are 5 more polyatomic ions. Carbonate and phosphate are very common. Chlorate and permanganate are good ones to memorize, not because they're all that common, but because they are just kind of difficult to recognize sometimes. The chlorate is Cl O3-. it's not Ci. And permanganate is MnO4 with a -1 charge. And you might wonder what the per means. It basically just means it has one more oxygen than you might expect. Last but not least, we have an organic ion called acetate, and it's pretty common, especially we see it in acetic acid and things that react with acetic acid. C2H3O2 with a -1 charge is the acetate polyatomic ion. Now do be careful while you're using polyatomic ions. Some of them have very similar names and very similar formulas. Consider NO3 with a -1 charge and NO2 also with a -1 charge. Those are two different polyatomic ions. They have two different names, nitrate and nitrite. The names are very similar, but those polyatomic ions would make different compounds with different properties, and so you have to be very careful to get the right one in the right situation. If you look over your polyatomic ion list on the back of your help sheet or your your periodic table, you probably will notice that about 75 or 80% at least of the polyatomic ions end in the suffix ITE or ATE. That's a good way to recognize, if given the name of a compound, that you have a polyatomic ion present. If you see those suffixes, look up those ions. When you have the formula and you're giving the name, you don't change those endings. So you don't change nitrate, you don't change sulfite, you just write it down. So write down the ions, write down their names exactly as listed on the handout that I have given you. Now again, just to give you an idea what a polyatomic ion is, it's a group of atoms with a charge. They stick together. They act as if they are a single unit, a single atom almost. But they have a charge. That means they've either gained or lost electrons. So ammonium, for example, is N, represented by the blue dots, H4, represented by the surrounding white dots in this diagram. And you'll notice again and again and again, you'll see NH4 repeated over and over and over again. The gold-colored dots represent something like, say, chlorine or fluorine or bromine. In this case, let's put it down as chlorine. We'd call this ammonium chloride. You'll notice that for every ammonium group, there's one chlorine. So the formula for this would be NH4Cl. One ammonium group, one chloride group, a 1-to-1 ratio. Let's do a little practice. What if I gave you magnesium and asked you to combine that with sulfate? Well, magnesium is a metal in column 2 on a periodic table, and so if we had the magnesium ion, that should be Mg2+. It should lose 2 electrons. The sulfate, the ATE suffix, tells us this is a polyatomic ion, and we go and look it up, we can find out that it's SO4 2-. We write it down exactly as we see it in our polyatomic ion list. Don't change anything. If you write those two ions side by side, you'll notice that the +2 and the -2 add up to 0. Anytime they add up to 0, that gives us a neutral compound, and so we just erase those charges, write 1 magnesium for every 1 sulfate group, and we would have the formula for magnesium sulfate. Again, you'll notice you do not change the name of either the positive ion or the polyatomic ion. What if you had magnesium and you combined it with a different polyatomic ion, in this case, nitrate? Well, magnesium hasn't changed. It's still going to be Mg2+ when it becomes an ion. Those 2 electrons are given to nitrate, but each nitrate, if you look on your polyatomic ion list, can only gain 1 electron, NO3 with a -1 charge. So in this case, we're going to need a 2-to-1 ratio. For every magnesium ion, we're going to need 2 nitrates to accept those 2 electrons. So what we do is we could represent those nitrates in parentheses like this. You keep them together. You don't add them together. Don't put N2O6. In shorthand, you erase the charges because the formula should be neutral, And you can put a subscript outside the parentheses and just write the NO3 one time. So your formula for magnesium nitrate would look like this. Mg, parentheses, NO3, close parentheses, with a little 2 outside. That 2 means you have 2 nitrate groups for every 1 magnesium ion. Again, you'll notice the name is magnesium, the same as the metal, and nitrate, the same as the polyatomic ion. You don't have to tell how many nitrates there are. You just name it. Let's put a transition metal in there. What if we had iron 3 ion and combine that with cyanide? Iron 3, that Roman numeral 3 tells us that it has a +3 charge. Cyanide, you might remember, is one of the polyatomic ions. If you look it up, you'll find out it's carbon combined with nitrogen, and it has a -1 charge, so it's Cn-. If you put those side by side, you'll see that does not add up to 0 as far as the charges are concerned. In fact, you're going to need 3 cyanide groups for every 1 iron 3+. So to shorthand that, we would write Fe, parentheses, Cn, close parentheses, 3. Again, the name doesn't reflect the number, though. It just tells what ions are present. So this will be iron 3 cyanide. Now, please do make proper use of the parentheses. It's very important you don't write something like FeCN3 without the parentheses, because that would mean you have 3 nitrogen atoms and only 1 carbon, when you should have 3 carbons. Just FYI, sometimes you might see a formula name that has the word hydrogen or dihydrogen inserted. That means that you started out with one of the polyatomic ions that had a -2 or a -3 charge and attached hydrogen to the group and lowered its charge by 1. So HCO3- is hydrogen carbonate, compared to CO3 2-, which is just carbonate. Now, you'll also note on your help sheet that hydrogen carbonate, HCO3-, actually has another name. In the old days, it was called bicarbonate. So please make a note of that, that bicarbonate and hydrogen carbonate are the same ion. PO4 with a -3 charge is phosphate. If you added 1 hydrogen, that would be hydrogen phosphate. If you add 2 hydrogens, we call it dihydrogen phosphate. It only has a -1 charge at that point. And then here's sulfate and hydrogen sulfate. Now again, all these ions are listed on your polyatomic ion chart, but recognizing that that word hydrogen in the middle of the name is inserted there will give you a clue as to where to look for it. They're almost always there'll be 1 less than the ending polyatomic ion, the sulfate, the phosphate, the carbonate. So just to summarize what we've seen so far, when we had 2 ions, we called it binary. So if we have 3 or more elements, let's call it ternary. You can almost always recognize that you have a polyatomic ion present because you have a ternary compound, something that has 3 or more elements in it. NaNO3 would be sodium nitrate. Make sure you write down the name for NO3, not NO2. K2SO4, that's potassium combined with the polyatomic ion sulfate, so it's potassium sulfate. And if we have iron, we know that's a transition metal, and so we have to give its charge. You can figure out its charge by looking at the polyatomic ion. Hydrogen carbonate, or bicarbonate as it's also known, has a -1 charge. We see a parentheses with a 3 outside. That means we have 3 of those bicarbonates or hydrogen carbonate polyatomic ions. If we have 3 negatives, that iron must be 3 positive. So it's iron 3 hydrogen carbonate or iron 3 bicarbonate. So our rules for using polyatomic ions is to write the cation, the positive first, then the anion. We remember that in our formula, the overall charge must equal 0. If the charges cancel in a 1-to-1 ratio, we just write down the symbols, including whatever numbers are included in the polyatomic ion. But if we need more than one polyatomic ion, then we're going to need to put it in parentheses and show how many we need for the neutral ratio with a subscript, like a 2 or a 3. And don't forget that if you have a transition metal that has more than one charge, we have to use Roman numerals to indicate the charge. Roman numerals give the charge. It doesn't tell you the subscripts. Roman numerals and subscripts are not the same thing. Let's try a few more practice problems. What if you want to make a compound of sodium and sulfate? Well, sodium is in the first column on the periodic table, so this ion would be Na with a +1 charge. It'll lose 1 electron. Sulfate, the ATE, we look it up as SO4 with a -2 charge. You notice that +1 and -2 add up to -1, so we need another positive. So we need a 2-to-1 ratio. To show that, we could write Na2SO4. And the name of that would just be sodium sulfate. If we had iron 2, that means Fe+2. And if we had hydroxide, again, that is a polyatomic ion, you might remember, is OH with a -1 charge. That means we are going to need a 2-to-1 ratio of hydroxides. So we put the hydroxide in parentheses and write a 2 outside. Erase all the charges to show that it's neutralized. The name doesn't change. It's iron 2 hydroxide. Why don't you try on your own naming these 3 compounds? Just pause the video for a moment and see if you can name these 3 formulas. In the first one, we have calcium and sulfate, so that would just be calcium sulfate. The next one, we see Al, and then we see a complicated polyatomic ion, H2PO4. You might recognize PO4 as phosphate, so if you put 2 hydrogens on there, it would be dihydrogen phosphate. So it's aluminum, dihydrogen, phosphate. You don't have to give the charge for aluminum. It's always going to be +3 in this class. Now the last one you might have found a little tricky if you didn't recognize that the first ion is ammonium. NH4 is ammonium. NO3 is nitrate. So this will be ammonium nitrate, a key ingredient in fertilizer. So at this point, you need to practice writing formulas and naming compounds. If you haven't already done so, you need to pick up worksheets 9-3A and 9-3B. And also, you need to complete Learning Check 3 in your notes. Now, the last 8 problems of Learning Check 3 are